Recorded live from the English Valley's History Center, May 31st, 2025. Jackie's weekly Saturday podcast. And we're rolling.
Hello, my name is Jackie Geringer McDermott, and we're recording live from the English Valley's History Center in North English, Iowa, May 31st, 2025. This morning, Randy Bauer walked in here and said, "Who knows who I am?" And of course I did. And he had a couple of new acquisitions. The first is a pillow that everyone had for the ball games. We sat on those, and something that's really nice on the back of it is all of the businesses from that time period. We've looked, and the only one that we can see that's still in business is Smith Motor Company. This is really a treasured thing to get. And the other thing that he brought is a class composite. And this is from the class of 1972. And he thinks that his dad, Carol Bauer, bought it when they just tore down the 1913 grade high school building. So that's pretty neat too. And we're going to add it to our composites, and we're working on getting a place to display all those. Thanks a lot, Randy. And I also found out Randy's a listener of my program. Another thing that I got this morning in the mail was from Rebecca Nicholson Miller. She's originally from Watchir, and her parents were Larry and Phyllis Nicholson. Her dad still lives in Watchir, and she's got a lot of their stuff that she's putting in the right homes. One of the things that we found is a little keychain that says W.C. Litzenberger on it, right there, from Martell, Iowa. And they've done some research on that, and they believe that that is the grandfather of R.G. Litzenberg, who lived out east of town. And this is a picture of what we think is his wife. She was a Hardy, and it says on the back of it that she's R.G.'s grandmother. And these are all in Bonnie Netzer's possession, these wonderful pictures. And a little bit of teaser for the future out of Bonnie's stuff. Soon we're going to be doing stories about George Hardy murder. The other thing that Rebecca Nicholson sent to us was this program, and it's from Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians. It was a program at the old high school. Well, it wasn't the old high school then. October 23rd, 1966, and it was to benefit the band boosters. We thank everyone for these wonderful donations, and we'll keep you apprised of what's going on in the future with all this stuff. Now we're going to go to the diary. This diary was written by my great-great-aunt, Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade, who was known as Libby Wade. She's 75 years old in May of 1950. And here's a picture of Aunt Lib standing down in front of her son Perky's house on East Clark Street. And the person that she's holding is her granddaughter, Barbara Wade, who's the older sister of Randy Wade. May 15th, 1950, starting in it with a new book. Yesterday was Mother's Day. We had a nice time here. All of the family was here except for Anna's and Evelyn's. This is another nice day. Everyone will be busy now, planting corn and gardens, everything. The fruit trees are in full bloom. Looks like a good prospect for fruit. I hope we have nice weather now. I did the work in the forenoon, and after dinner I went back to my crochet work. My eye is about all right now. Mary R. and Minnie Zilmer Yoder came. Mrs. Yoder had quite a joke on Mary. She didn't know her at first, and Mrs. Yoder asked if she might walk away with her. Mary gave sort of confused reply, and how she laughed. They were such great friends in their school days. Elsie Miller also came. They had been at Minnie Z's. This is her 60th birthday, Marie said. Marie Zilmer was an old school acquaintance from back in the Green Valley area. She and Mary Wade Rugseger, this is Mary right here, when she was younger, were friends. Marie Zilmer married Joseph Yoder, and she's buried in the Watsonville Cemetery near Wellman. She had 6 children, and the only one I've ever heard mentioned before was Carol or Bus Yoder from Thornburg. Elsie Miller, the other friend that came, her maiden name was Dillon, and she was married to Joseph D. Miller. They were the parents of Zephyr Netzer, Cleva Grau, and Conrad Miller. Conrad Miller's the father of Dick Miller and Bob Miller from East and North English. Minnie Zilmer, who was 60 years old today, was another Green Valley person who was buried at Champion Hill Cemetery. Her maiden name was Patterson, and she was married to John Zilmer. Their daughter, Ada, was married to Kindred Kay or Bud Evers. Mr. and Mrs. Evers had one daughter, Shirley, who was married to Larry Baines of North English. Hattie came over, brought me some rhubarb custard pie. She thinks Wilkins is a little unsettled. Wants to go to Mason City, he thinks now. Flossie and Barbara were here a while in the evening. Hattie Newberry Killian is Libby's neighbor who rents rooms from her in her house to people who need a place to live. Mr. Wilkins must be one of those boarders. The Iowa Oddfellows and Orphans Home in Mason City, Iowa was for orphans and people who were ill or needed nursing care. This is one of the charities where the Rebecca Lodge that Libby belongs to sends donations. Flossie that came over, Flossie West, was the daughter of Millard Fillmore Claypool, the son of Lib's cousin William Wallace Claypool, known as Wallace Claypool. Flossie's mother was Mary Viola or Molly Cheney Claypool. Flossie had been married to Winter West, and they had one daughter, Barbara. They lived on the West Coast, but were now back in North English. And I found an article where she was working at Mahana's, demonstrating sewing machines. May 16th, 1950. Was so cold this morning, I lit a fire in the range. Got rid of the trash and added a little fuel. Also lit the oil burner, turned as low as I could. It is damp and chill without some fire. The little folks were in. The Hall twins, Karen and Claudia. I fried chicken for dinner. Russell brought it at the store, all ready to cook. Received a package in the mail from Anna. A Mexican tablecloth and napkins, and also a program of the anniversary of the Methodist Church at Brownville, Texas, 1850 to 1950. A floor pageant on Tucker's Field. Costumes to correspond with the times. Richard and Anna and some neighbors attended it. It is 50 or 60 miles from them. It is raining here now, 12:30 p.m., so there will be no planting of bulbs today. Flossie and Barbara stopped for a few minutes. They were going to Hogendorn's to stay with the children. Mrs. Bolts was here too. The evangelistic meeting is to begin tonight at the church. LaCour and his musicians. Russell went. The Hall twins who visited Libby today were Vance and Virginia, or as they are now known, Vance Hall and Jenny Miller. Karen could have been Karen Hall, the daughter of Roy and Lona Hall. She was 12 years old in 1950, and the other children were much younger than that, but she could have been watching over them. Other ideas would be Karen Dennis or Karen Dennison, but I don't think either of them lived in town. Claudia Wade was Lib's great-granddaughter, the oldest child of Walter or Bud and Frida Wade. Anna Cray Wade, right here in this picture, is Libby's daughter from Texas. She writes often and sends gifts. The Hogendorn children that Flossie and Barbara were going down to stay with were the children of newspaper editor Carl Hogendorn and his wife Bertilla. Elizabeth Geiger Bolts, or Lizzie Bolts, was an elderly neighbor. Russell Wade is her 42-year-old son who lives with Libby. And he went to the local Methodist church for an evangelistic crusade by Dr. Lawrence LaCour and friends that was lasting for 12 days and featured old-time gospel singing and preaching. May 17th, 1950. My, it is cold yet today. 58 degrees at 8:30. The sun is shining, and it will probably be warm later in the day. Our rooms are so shaded. It was cold in here. I lit the fire. Would like to be outside, but I can't. I don't have my glads or dahlias planted yet. No one to do it for me. The weather has been unfit. Lib is writing more each day in this new book. She is now 75 years old and much less able to do yard work than in the past. She talks about their house being shaded. According to the 1952 aerial photograph that we found, there were large trees near the east street. Lena was here a while this AM. She was to go to the schoolhouse at 11 and take care of the kindergarten kids until 1. Her mother was here in the PM. Roy is not so well. She said that Keith went to Sigourney to the doctor. They didn't think they could help him either. He doesn't want to be tapped and he's filled with fluid. Lena Wallace Wade is Lib's daughter-in-law, the wife of her second son, Warren, or Mike Wade. North English has started a kindergarten, and evidently the students rest from 11 to 1. Her mother is Stella Markwell Wallace, and her father is Leroy Gilbert or Roy Wallace. Roy's right here in this picture. Roy's health has been failing ever since 1946, and now he is critically ill. Keith Geringer is also critically ill. He's right here in this picture, down here on this side. He's my dad's first cousin, and from what I've learned, something was internally wrong with him. He was 31 years old and was married to Lois Hinder Geringer, and they had a young daughter named Phyllis. Lena and Lib knew Keith from when they lived in the Yankee Point area, and Keith's grandmother, Tracy Kelly Geringer Wallace, was married to Lena's uncle, Frank Wallace. So this right here is my step-great-grandpa, Frank Wallace. It has warmed up quite a lot today, but the air is cool. Warm in the sun. Temperature is 58 degrees at 12:30. Beth came around 2 p.m. She came over with the Malleys, Charles Cox's in-laws. She said Vaughn will be home next week from school and Harold is in Missouri. He is selling dairy equipment to dealers. Was in Springfield last week when he wrote. He will be home in a week or two. They expect to bring Tom's body to Pearsall Cemetery for burial soon. Beth Mall Holmes is right here in this picture. She's Lib's niece and she lives in Kyoto. She has carpooled over to see her aunt with Esther Cox's parents, the grandparents of my listener, Julie Cox Stainerson. Beth's husband, Harold, is on the road as a salesman, and her son, Vaughn, is 18 years old and heading to the University of Iowa for 2 more years of schooling. Beth's uncle, Thomas Mall, passed away in April, and they will be bringing his body to Pearsall Cemetery, north and east of North English, soon. Lib's brother-in-law, John Josiah Mall Jr., is right here, and her sister-in-law, Daisy Mall Claypool, were both siblings of Tom Malls. Tracy stopped in on her way to town. We had ice cream cones together. Jack Dixon and Don Van Dyke came with a desk telephone. We will be on a private line, too. Jenny was up for a few minutes. My paternal grandmother, Tracy Geringer, or her maiden name was Kelly, Geringer Wallace, was friends with Lib from when they lived out at the Yankee Point community, north and east of North English. Tracy lived down on Clark Street in a little house, and this is a picture of it, that is no longer there. It was about where that big grain bin is now. And here's a picture of Grandma Wallace when she was younger with her first husband, James Riley Geringer, and her sons, Alva Geringer, Carl Geringer, and John Geringer. Jack Dixon and Don Van Dyke from the phone company arrived with a new phone. They had previously been on a party line. Jenny Butterbaugh Wade was Lib's daughter-in-law, the wife of her oldest son, Perkier Wayne Wade, and she came up often to visit as they live only a block away. May 18th, 1950. Some warmer today. Showers predicted for late afternoon. I got the work done up and crocheted a while. Flossie came. She said she could come this PM to do some more planting for me. Would like to get the bulbs out. Mary and Millard drove up. This is his first trip out except for the hospital. Molly and Linda were uptown. Flossie went with them in the car. I couldn't help but thinking how much Millard looks like his mother. He is improving, but it is slow. He gets around home some now. Millard Fillmore Claypool is the son of Lib's cousin Wallace Claypool and his wife Ina McKistry Claypool. And he came up in a car with his other daughter, Flossie's sister, Mary Claypool Williams, who lived in Williamsburg. Her daughter, Linda Williams, was uptown with her grandmother. And here's a picture of Molly Claypool in her younger days when with her daughter Mary was a baby. When Russell came for dinner, we decided not to buy the telephone that Dixon brought yesterday. It is secondhand and needs repair, so we will still use the one we have. Jack came and got it in the PM and also put us back on the old line. I don't know why. He said, no, we can't do that if you don't buy this phone. I suppose he can have his way. Something's not too good at the yard today. Some of the help not there, etc. Lib is talking about the home lumber company or lumber yard where Russell works, and Russell is telling her about his day at work. Mrs. Boltz brought some dandelions. I got Russell to pick up some horseradish leaves, so we will have greens for dinner tomorrow. Bruce and Russell went to Sigourney tonight to see about getting the big saw sharpened. Harold and Melva and Barbara stopped on their way to church. Bruce Warner is now the manager of the home lumber company since his father, E.B. Warner, passed away in 1949. You might notice the workday didn't necessarily end at 5 o'clock in those days, as they were going to Sigourney at night on company business. Grandson Harold, or Stub Wade, is on the right here, and he and his new wife and baby daughter stopped on their way to church. And here's a picture of that baby daughter when she grew up. Her name was Barbara Wade. May 19th, 1950. Cloudy and cold and windy. We'll light the fire. Temperature 58 degrees in Des Moines at 8 a.m. I picked over the greens and put them on to cook. Mrs. Boltz came up to eat dinner with us. We have had several showers, and it is still cold enough to have a fire at 1:30. Marie Bringman called here. She had tried to call Jenny. She won't get to go to the hospital right now. She has a cold and some temperature. My foot is terribly ouchy today. Weather, maybe. I finished the edge on the set Mary R. gave me. It is pretty. Mary R. came in the PM. I bought eggs at 25 cents a dozen. Millie K. stopped in a minute, then Lena came. She had been to see her father. He is not as well as he had been, and he is getting weaker. He fell last night, and Stella called Warren and Lena about 3 o'clock to help get him up. Poor man. He is more helpless every day. It is warmer this PM. This is commencement day at the school. Lena said the doctor tapped Keith last night and drew off 17 pounds of fluid. Marie Bringman is the sister of Jenny's from Wellman. She is the mother of Mary Ellen Cobb, Joss Bringman from Kinross, Ruth Heer from Sigourney, and several other children. Millie K. is Millie Knipfer, and she's right here. She is the daughter of Libby's first teacher, Laura Swope, and Millie was the grandmother of Doris Brock from South English and the Knipfers from North English. I never did exactly figure out what is wrong with Lib's foot in her later years, but it is evidently painful, and it keeps her from doing all the work that she would like to do. Today, she has been working on a set of pillowcases, evidently doing fancy crocheting around the edge of them. Russell planted the dahlias tonight after supper, then took the lawnmower to South English to have it sharpened. Hattie stopped after church. She thinks they're having excellent meetings. They took Mrs. Will Miller to the hospital tonight. She thought Cedar Rapids. Received a letter from Anna today. Mr. Morris is in the hospital too. William Conrad Morris was an 87-year-old man who was later buried in North English Cemetery. I'm not familiar with his name. May 20th, 1950. Another cool day. It was 34 degrees at Spencer last night, but not that cold here. Cloudy this morning. Burl Long was here. He has 16 acres of corn yet to plant. The ground works up good, but a little dry. I got dinner and had the dishes washed when Flossie and Barbara came. She went uptown to try to find a way to find a ride out to her folks' house. She said Milo West was badly burned with gasoline. I think it happened today. He had a can of gas in the car and it caught on fire some way. His wife took him to the hospital. Flossie didn't know where. Burl Long was a farmer out in Fillmore Township. His wife was the former Edith Hahn, an older sister of Arnie Hahn's. Milo West was the brother of Winter West, Flossie's ex-husband. The West boys and their brothers, North, Farmer, Juan, and Waldo, were the children of Sam West and Anna Carter West. So they were related to many of us who have our roots out at the Yankee Point community, north and east of North English. More trouble for me. While changing my dress, my glasses fell off and onto the floor, shattering one lens, the right one. Fortunately, I had my old ones in the dresser drawer and can use them, but they don't suit very well. Jenny and Kathy were here in the evening. Wayne and Evelyn went to Oskaloosa to see Wayne's father. He is in the hospital there, had his knee operated on. Russell went to Lila's to get the clothes, $2.50 this time. Kathy Kurtz, who was age 2, along with her grandmother Jenny Wade, were visitors to Libby's house, while the parents, Wayne and Evelyn Kurtz, visited her paternal grandfather, Kurtz, in the Oskaloosa Hospital. Lila Cobb, who is the mother of Lib's grandson-in-law, Glenn Cobb, is now doing Lib and Russell's laundry. Jenny said, we will go to Ottumwa for my glasses, maybe Tuesday. Suzanne is to have her tonsils removed on Monday. Cold enough for a fire this evening, I lit the stove. Russell brought me a box of strawberries, our first, 40 cents per quart box. Suzanne Kurtz, age 7, is Libby's oldest great-granddaughter. Sunday, May 21st, 1950. It rained last night and this morning. Clearing now at 11:30. We didn't get up till late. Had breakfast and got some of the work done. Russell went to church. Suzanne stopped in a while. She will have her tonsils removed tomorrow. She still has chickenpox scabs on her face. They are dried down, though. We have had strawberries for breakfast. Russell went to church. I washed dishes, etc. Read a while, but I still can't see very well with these glasses. Russell was home a while and then went to Roy Cox's to show his new fishing rod. Marie Bringman and son Orrin and their 2 little girls, Mary Ellen and Ruth, came. I was certainly surprised, didn't know her at first. They had been to Wayne's, but didn't find anyone at home, so they came up here. Frida came up a while. Frida Wade was the wife of grandson Walter or Bud Wade and lives around the corner on Southeast Street. Hattie came from church. They had a basket dinner there today. Russell took the washing over to Lila this evening. Evelyn and Kathy were here. Evelyn made our beds. I had them torn apart to send with the laundry. We have had showers occasionally all day, and it is still rainy at 7 p.m. Russell wore his raincoat tonight when he started to church. Granddaughter Evelyn Kurtz is in the top of this picture. She's the mother of Suzanne and Kathy Kurtz. May 22nd, 1950. It looks nice out this morning. It seems warmer. I have a low fire in the oil burner, though. It is so damp. I called Dr. Schulenthaler and asked him to stop. My lower plate is still not quite satisfactory. He took them along with him. Suzanne had her tonsil operation. Apparently got along fine. Wayne K. stayed in and watched. They took her down to Wayne W.'s. Jenny was up this p.m. She thinks she will get along good. Dr. A.C. Schulenthaler was the local dentist who lived nearby and made a house call to see Libby. Wayne Kurtz, Suzanne's father, watched her tonsillectomy, and then they took her down to the home of her grandparents, Wayne or Perky and Jenny Wade. When Russell came at noon, he told of Phyllis having an attack of appendicitis. They took her to Cedar Rapids. Lena, Alberta, and Caskey from the creamery went, I heard. Warren was out on his route and knew nothing until he got in. He and Buzz Hall went up as soon as they could. I heard that Dr. Moon was to do the operating at 11 o'clock. I haven't heard from him yet. Kasky came back as soon as he could leave up there. Lib's granddaughter, Phyllis Wade, is right here in this picture. She had graduated from high school and is still 18 years old and is working at the English Valley Creamery when she had appendicitis. Her mother, Lena, who is right here in the center of the picture, went along with a friend, Alberta Claypool, who is right here in this picture. And Alberta is Lib's great niece, the daughter of nephew Harry Joe Claypool, her brother Werner's son. And Russell Kasky from the creamery went along to the hospital. Her father, Warren or Mike Wade, was driving a cream route, so then he and his friend, Bus Hall, who is right here in this picture, went up to the hospital together. Jenny said we would go to Ottumwa tomorrow. Beth was in a few minutes this PM, was over to the doctor, had a pain in her chest. She said Jack is at her house. He has mumps on one side. Vaughn is out of school, but he can't go in at home because he has never had the mumps either. Beth has had them. Doctor thought her problem was pleurisy. Not too good either. She has been taking care of Jack upstairs and maybe has overdone. She had a bad night and was not feeling well today. Mrs. Malley brought her over. John Josiah Jack Mall Jr. is right here in this picture. Is Libby's nephew. And he's the son of her sister, Sarah Claypool Mall. And he's staying with his sister Beth in Kyoto because he has the mumps. He is divorced and he needs to be cared for. Vaughn Holmes is Beth's son. I believe my teeth are better than any time yet. George Berry called here today. I could hardly hear him. Alta was in town, but didn't get down here. Stella called. Roy is quite bad. Nellie is there today. Alta Wade Berry is Lib's sister-in-law, the sister of her husband, Bert Wade. Her husband is George Berry. Stella Wallace is Lena's mother, and Nellie is Lena's sister, Nellie Wallace Hahn. Mrs. Halls stopped in a few minutes. She works at the telephone office. Alberta stopped in to tell me about Phyllis. They just got home about 5 p.m. Lena came too. Phyllis was on the operating table 45 minutes. Dr. Watts did the work. She seemed to be getting along all right. Had pain, but they were going to give her something to ease her. Put her to sleep, I expect. My, what a day. Russell talked to Warren and Lena after they got home. Doctor said it was better for them to come home. There's nothing they could do. That is the end of the diary portion of the program for this week. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to keep the History Center operating. That includes cataloging sessions, creating displays, coordinating and preparing for monthly programs, keeping up with the social media, finances, cleaning, maintenance, and providing treats for the programs. There's a whole lot more activity that supports the center operations, and it's largely contributed through time and effort by the board of directors. The History Center board is comprised of Dave Jackson, president, Scott Romine, vice president, Bonnie Romine, secretary, Don Banning, treasurer, and directors Carolyn Elwood, Shelley Gerard, Alan Ackerman, and Dan Best. Please send donations to English Valley History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa 52316. Correspondence this week. I found this message from someone on my YouTube channel. I just stumbled across this site. It's amazing to hear the history of the EV area. My mother was Evelyn Claypool, who married Daniel Osweiler in 1947. My mom was a waitress at the cafe on the west side of Main Street, and that's where my parents met. My grandparents were Kenneth and Cora Claypool. My mother's middle name is Cora. My great-grandparents were Bert and Minnie Lindsay Claypool, and my great-great-grandparents were William Wallace and Ina McKinstry Claypool. My great-great-grandparents were William Glenn and Mary Wallace Claypool. They are all buried in North English in the Claypool section. William Glenn migrated to Iowa from Roundhead, Ohio. His dad was Jacob Claypool. We have visited that cemetery, but many graves are unmarked. My Osweiler grandparents moved to a farm just west of the golf course in the 1950s, I believe. The house is still there. We would like to visit the History Center sometime. And I wrote back and asked them if they had any pictures of any of those people, because I'm really interested in finding more pictures. And I hope they do come here to visit. Ron Van Berkem wrote to say, always interesting. Gary Schultz wrote to say thank you. I know he enjoys my programs. Vicki Holden Olson said, I really enjoyed the pictures this time. See you soon, girl. I have really enjoyed getting reacquainted with Vicki since we started the alumni luncheons. And a welcome back to my listener, Vicki Johnson, the granddaughter of Vic Van Dykes. I have missed you, and I hope you're able to watch all the broadcasts I've made on YouTube. Mark Claypool said, Jackie, thanks are never enough for your hard work and your dedication to this project. Pam Kavanaugh Shields said, thanks, Jackie. It's always great to hear from earlier residents since I wasn't born until September of 1946. I learned something new from every broadcast. I'm learning a lot too. That's why I enjoy this program. Dave Jackson and I have been working on a little research project on the murder of George Hardy out at Green Valley in 1929, and I'll be doing a feature story on that someday soon. We have also run across more pictures of the Long family, and Bonnie Netzer brought in her scrapbooks on the Moffat, Netzer, and Lamoureux families from Green Valley, so my little mind has been swimming. What started all this was my interest in Libby's Rebecca Lodge membership. Libby was a member for 60 years out at Green Valley and in North English, and we have the record books from all the organization and all the robes and costumes from the Rebecca and Oddfellows lodges here at the History Center. I would also like to mention that the next English Valley alumni luncheon at Bryant's in the Williamsburg Mall will be at 11:30 a.m. on June 30th. Please contact Alice Stramer or Linda Carter for reservations. And I took the hard drive storage from the History Center to save all my broadcasts from the 1946 diaries, as my home computer is getting full. I hope that Facebook and YouTube are around forever, but we know that's not always the case. Our condolences this week to the family of Chester Ballard from the class of 1961. Chester was a farmer and outdoorsman who loved to hunt and fish, and he loved to hunt deer and turkey. Chester was from a long line of farmers and outdoorsmen in the Ballard family. And our condolences to the family of Linda Reed Lee, also from the class of 1961, who passed away on her birthday. Linda was so sweet and kind, and a long-time third-grade teacher. Linda's mother, Pauline Reed, was my third-grade teacher, and her daughter, Amy Andreessen, was the principal at EV Elementary for 25 years. And Linda's granddaughter, Grace America Andreessen, is now a teacher at Mid-Prairie Elementary. There is a flyer on the EV graduates page if you need more information about when different decades of classes will meet for the alumni reunion on July 26th. The parade is at 10:30. Starting at noon, snacks and drinks will be available at the History Center, paid for by sales from the Everyone at EV book for 2025, with pictures of all the graduates since 1957. I'll be doing a live broadcast before the parade at 9 a.m. and staying around after the parade to visit. We are also interested in learning about historical English Valley's items that you might wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap.
Thank you.